A great philosopher once said, "Loneliness is often the byproduct of a gifted mind." Welcome to my Singed Guide. I'll teach you everything you need to know to play this champion and tilt the enemy team. I've hit Challenger in 8 out of 16 seasons of League, including this one, playing Singed only. He's a ton of fun and the most unique champ in the entire game. I love teaching people about this character, so let's dive in. Now, if there's something I know that every League of Legends player looks forward to, it's international tournaments, which is great because for the entirety of MSI 2026, Opera GX, the sponsor of this video, is an official partner of League Esports. At any time when using Opera GX, you can click in the top left to bring up the GX corner, where you can find a calendar of the tournament, including game results with spoiler-free presentation, a section where you can find all of the co-streamers, and a list of official League mods for Opera GX. I really enjoy this super chill Hui browser mod, which features an animated wallpaper, awesome colors, background music, and keyboard sounds. You don't want to miss out on the exclusive loot drops during MSI semifinals and finals for people who are watching games on lolesports.com using Opera GX. Opera GX also has plenty of other awesome features. Right off the bat, they offer 3 must-haves for anyone trying to navigate the modern internet. 1. A built-in ad blocker for protection against intrusive pop-ups for when you're just trying to look up a build. 2. A built-in VPN for privacy and accessing content from different regions. And 3. GX Control, which lets you limit your RAM and CPU usage on Opera GX so it never gets in the way of other things you're trying to do. Opera GX also lets you quickly import all your settings from your previous browser, like browsing history, bookmarks, and cookies, so switching over is super easy and completely seamless. You can support me and download Opera GX for yourself by using my link in the description or pinned comment. Thanks to Opera GX for sponsoring today's video. Singed is not a champion that you pick in order to dominate the laning phase. This is instead a champion who gradually scales into one of the best team fighters in the entire game. His whole kit is built from the ground up to be as annoying as possible early, and late game to run over team fights. We'll be playing to maximize farm, annoy the enemy, and looking to get our level 16, which is when Singed turns into his ultimate late game form. This champion is not meant to be a 1v1 duelist, and if that's what you were looking for, then might I suggest one of the other trillion of those that exist in this game. I'll be honest, Singed does have a pretty weak laning phase, but the payoff is worth it later on. I do have a spreadsheet which is like an autistic deep dive into all possible runes, items, and matchups with video links. If you want that, the link is in the description. I also offer coaching over at medify.gg/@minishcap1, and if you're interested in that, head over there too. Runes are a bit easier now with Deathfire Touch being re-added to the game, which is the primary keystone we'll be running in most games. There's still times where we may consider other options like Aftershock, Spellbook, Conquer, or Fleet Footwork, but 90 out of 100 games will be Deathfire Touch. So the sorcery page, in my opinion, almost never changes. Deathfire Touch is just brain off, it's never bad. Your Poison applies it, your Fling applies it, those are your only 2 damaging abilities. Conqueror actually out-damages and outscales DFT, but it's way more annoying to use and honestly not as fun. The Sorcery Tree Minor Runes are also way better than the Precision Tree Minor Runes for Singed, so we stick to DFT. Speaking of Minor Runes, we take Nimbus Cloak, Celerity, and Gathering Storm. Nimbus Cloak gives you movement speed when you use Summoners, and it's the best choice in that row. In niche situations, we can take Mana Flow Band, but just take Nimbus Cloak usually. We always take Celerity as it's the best rune in the next row by far, and makes perfect sense for Singed. We need to move faster, and Celerity moves us faster. In the last row, we always take Gathering Storm. Always. Scorch is a bad rune on Singed, because in Modern League, every situation that we used to be able to use Scorch with to get early leads is no longer favorable. What I mean is that we used to be able to bully range top laners with Scorch, but nowadays we get stat checked early by them, so we focus instead on scaling. The Gathering Storm is AP scaling with game time. Most games last around 27 minutes, with many going into the 30 and 40 minute mark, meaning Gathering Storm is a must pick as it almost always gives you 24 AP, and eventually, a lot of the time, gives you 48 AP and more. For the secondary tree, the most brain-off, never bad setup is Triumph plus Last Stand. Triumph just heals you when you get a takedown and gives you some extra gold, and the way Singed's kit works, he gets a lot of takedowns in team fights, so it makes sense on him. Last Stand also pumps a lot of damage when taken on Singed because the items that we buy this season really promote going hard in team fights and surviving on low HP, so Last Stand gets a ton of value on Singed. The other most common secondary runes are Conditioning and Overgrowth in the Resolve tree. Conditioning gives extra armor and MR, and adds a percentage increase as well, and Singe's ult gives a large amount of resistances, so this rune makes sense. Overgrowth gives a bunch of extra HP, and Singe really likes to have HP because of his ult making him tanky, so this also makes sense. Singe can also farm up the Overgrowth stacks very hard because Singe gets a large amount of farm per game. You run this when you feel like the enemy team has a lot of damage. An example where this would be good is if you're the primary frontline for your team, if your team picked way too many squishy champions, and you, the lone poison Baldy, are up in front soaking all damage, then you'd go resolve secondary. My personal favorite secondary rune setup is going Inspiration Tree for Cashback and Cosmic Insight. Cashback is good on Singe because the first item we buy a lot of the time is Rylai's, which is cheap enough to buy quickly and start getting the gold refund to purchase our next items even faster, which can lead to items snowballing. Cosmic Insight is for Summoner Spell Haste. Singed is quite reliant on Summoner Spells for mobility with Ghost and Flash, and cross-mapping with Teleport, so Cosmic Insight feels great to me. You run this when you feel like you need your Summoners up more than normal. A good example of this would be if the enemy team is majority ranged champions, and you need to run Ghost Flash in order to catch them. Shards have some interesting choices to make. In my opinion, the best scaling option for Singed in Shards is 1 AP Shard, Movement Speed Shard, and Tenacity Shard. However, this is a greedy option and the hardest shard setup to run because it makes your already weak early game have even less damage. The benefit, however, is that movement speed and tenacity are really valuable in mid to late game on Singed. Movement speed in particular also allows you to proxy more easily and effectively in the early game. Take this when you're confident in your lane matchup early game because it will be harder to lane with this. The most common shard setup for Singed, however, is 2 AP shards and flat health shard or scaling health shard. These are focused more around making your early game easier, so you should take this when you're less confident in the lane matchup. Flat health shard versus ranged, and scaling health shard versus melee. I'll talk about the other keystones as well. For some reason, Riot's had this fascination with dumbing down Singed ever since they added Minion Last Hit to his Poison Trail. DFT dumbs down the rune selection process because it's just so good at being not bad, that even in situations where other runes like Spellbook or Aftershock excel, you can just turn your brain off and play DFT. However, I don't mind if DFT replaces Conqueror, even in situations where Conqueror is better, because Conqueror is sweaty and cringe. There are still some situations where Conqueror will outperform DFT, such as when you're versus multiple tanks or just a really beefy enemy team, but in general, the amount of input required for Conqueror compared to the amount of output the rune provides still means that Deathfire Touch is almost as good even in those niche situations. If you are truly deep diving into this champion, I'd suggest you to try Spellbook and Aftershock at some point. Spellbook is great for proxying because you can keep grabbing summoner spells to help, and Aftershock is great when you're solo frontline as long as the enemy team doesn't have any true damage, but if you don't care that much, just put the DFT in the bag. You want damage anyways. Summoner spells. Ghost and Flash is the most common choice. I take this setup by default when the enemy team has 3 or more ranged champions. This setup gives you the most mobility for skirmishes and teamfights, while making you the hardest to kill in the early game. This setup is the best at flashing into a fight to fling the enemy carry so your team can one-shot them. If a teamfight is happening and it's even a little bit spread out, I usually use Ghost immediately to spread my poison as much as I can, as fast as I can. With the role quest unlocked, you also get a teleport for free. However, the role quest teleport is on a 7-minute cooldown compared to Unleashed teleport, which is 4 minutes at level 10, significantly shorter cooldown. This means that after laning phase, Ghost and Flash is not great at matching split pushers because your ability to teleport across the map to a team fight is much more restricted. In the early game, you also have a bit more difficulty resetting a lane that has a wave in a bad spot, so you have to be very careful to not get frozen on. Otherwise, you'll have to skip a creep wave and proxy in order to get the wave crashed and reset, which opens you up to getting ganked. The other most common setup is TP plus Ghost or TP plus Flash. I usually take one of these when the enemy team has 3 or more melee champions, because that means you're less reliant on having 2 mobility summoner spells. You take TP plus Ghost when the enemy carries are not able to kite you as hard, or TP plus Flash when the enemy carries can kite a bit more. You can also just take whichever you prefer if you're unsure, because the majority of the time, when you're facing 3 or more melee champions, you'll be able to use your passive on them to get movement speed anyways. You use teleport in the early game, normally around the 5-minute mark, to reset back into lane and continue farming. This is a good timing because Unleashed teleport activates at 10 minutes, allowing you to have your teleport available to TP to second dragon or bot lane, depending on what happens. Ghost or Flash are used during teamfights and skirmishes to have better target access. In the mid to late game, teleporting into a teamfight, especially from across the map, gives you a huge shield that is so useful for tanking so much damage from the enemy team. This alone is a huge selling point this season of teleport for me, because it boosts your already pretty high tankiness even higher when your teleport is up, while allowing you to cross map effectively and get as much farm across the entire map as possible, while also threatening turret plates in the side lanes. I also usually take one of these setups when I'm against an enemy split pusher such as Fiora, Camille, Tryndamere, or Trundle. I personally don't run Ignite that much anymore because the primary use case of this summoner is to fight range champions, but they just stat check us now even with Ignite, and the other setups just scale way harder and they're more fun in my opinion. The other summoner I want to talk about is Exhaust plus Ghost or Flash. I really like Exhaust versus enemy lane bullies and range tops that don't deal true damage, so it's really good if you're faced with a Riven, Jace, Varus, Teemo, or other different champion that's going to bully you and not actually have true damage to ignore Exhaust. Let's get into the itemization options for Singed. I'll try to keep things as easy and concise as possible. Itemization is simpler on Singed nowadays than it has been in the past, but if you want a much more in-depth itemization theory, check out my spreadsheet in the description or hit me up on medify.gg/@minishcap1 for direct coaching if you're wanting to learn even more. Singed does have a lot of options for items, but nowadays there are strong items with synergistic stats and effects, so we're able to follow a pretty simple build path, with room for deviation if we need to pivot. Starting items will be Doran's Ring and 2 potions, or Dark Seal plus refillable potion. You take Doran's Ring as a standard option when you want the higher combat stats for lane, or you're less confident in your matchup. You take Dark Seal as the greedy option to save money on refillable potion when you're more confident in your lane matchup. Versus hybrid damage champions like Shen or Jax, you can start Doran's Helm, because the health and mixed resistances keep you safe in the early game, but 90% of games you'll go Doran's Ring or Dark Seal. You can also do some crazy stuff like Boots plus refill start for an ultra greedy start, but I won't recommend this unless you're advanced at this champion. For Boots, we either go Swiftness Boots, Tabby/Steel Caps, or Merc Treads. You need to analyze the enemy team comp and think about what your needs are for that game. For most games, you will go Swiftness Boots because they're the most synergistic with Singed's kit. However, if the enemy team's champions have an obviously large amount of crowd control like Morgana, Lux, Anivia, Ryze, then you'll want Merc Treads for tenacity and magic resistance. If they have a bunch of AD auto attackers like Tryndamere top, Graves jungle, and Jinx AD carry, then you'd go Tabby/Steel Caps. If the enemy team has a little bit of everything, which is the case a lot of the time, then you'll go Swiftness Boots. If you're ever unsure of which boots to buy, then just go ahead and buy Swiftness Boots. Choosing between rushing tier 2 boots versus rushing your first item is a decision you'll have to make every game. If you need the movement speed of Swifties or the defensive value of Tabbies or Mercs, then get those first. However, if your early game is going very well, then you can choose to rush your first item to snowball a bit more. Our first item is going to be Rylai's most of the time. This is because the cost is good, 2600 gold. The stats are solid, and the slow on poison is really helpful in almost all cases. It makes you much harder to kill because the enemies have a harder time sticking to you, and it lets your team follow up on plays that you make because you can perma-slow enemies. The other choice is Liandry's, but we only rush this versus 2+ tanks on the enemy team because the AP on the item is just much lower than it used to be. We will still buy this almost every game, just later on. Our second item will be either Protoplasm Harness or Liandry's. If you need to survive a lot of damage, then Protoplasm Harness is insane on Singed. This item's heal that pops when you're low scales on bonus resistances, which Singed gets a lot of from his ult. You also get movement speed and tenacity during the heal. The downside is that the item has no damage since it's purely a tank item. If you don't need extra tankiness second, then buy Liandry's here. The third item will be Liandry's or Protoplasm Harness or Zhonya's or Jak'Sho. If you need tankiness, Protoplasm Harness almost always takes priority over Zhonya's and Jak'Sho. So if you don't have Protoplasm, buy that first over the other two. Once you have Protoplasm, you either buy Zhonya's if you're against a lot of AD or true damage, or buy Jak'Sho if you're against AP and AD damage. If you bought Protoplasm Harness as your second item, then you normally buy Liandry's or Zhonya's here as they both give you AP. But Zhonya's has armor for more Protoplasm healing and the invulnerability to survive. You'll just deal a little bit less damage. The healing from Protoplasm Harness also works during Zhonya's, so the item combo is very good for stalling. Fourth item will be whichever item you don't already have out of all of the items from the previous choice. So for example, if you already have Rylai's, Liandry's, and Protoplasm, then you would buy Zhonya's or Jak'Sho, and your fifth item would be the other one from those two. Jack Show amplifies your bonus resistances by a large percentage, so you can boost your protoplasm healing to huge levels with it. I also want to mention Bloodletter's Curse when the enemy is stacking a lot of MR. You may want this item to help shred. Another item is Bandle Pipes. You can buy this after Rylai's if your team has a lot of auto attackers and your support isn't buying it, because it lets you permabuff them for attack speed while also giving you 20 flat movement speed during your poison slow, which is very helpful in the early and mid game. Also, if you had a Dark Seal and your 10 stack, do not upgrade to Medjai's because you will die and you will lose all of your stacks. You have to play very aggressively in team fights on Singed. Let's go over all of Singe's abilities. Thankfully, Singed has some pretty simple abilities. However, there is a lot of depth in how you use them, which is part of what makes this champion so much fun. So starting with the passive, Singe's passive is Noxious Slipstream. Singe drafts off of nearby allied or enemy champions, gaining 25% movement speed for 2 seconds. This effect has an 8-second cooldown per champion. So if you see an allied champion and an enemy champion, right, you can draft off of them for an 8-second cooldown, and this will actually show by this little circle around their feet how long until you can do it again and get movement speed for 2 seconds. This also stacks, as you can see. Look in the corner, you'll see 1 stack, 2 stack, just like that, and you go a little bit faster every time you get multiple stacks. So you can imagine this is very, very useful in large fights where you can have many champions, right, in a fight like this, and you can just drift through every single person and gain movement speed, eventually going very, very fast, right? This is how Singed gets target access. And so I want you to get in the habit of just drifting through teammates, right? Because the reason why we always drift through teammates is because, let's say, for example, there's a team fight happening. We'll just say in mid lane for simplicity. If you have the enemy team like over here, and you want to target the guy in the back, maybe it's the AD carry, maybe it's the mid laner, and your team is all here, right? We'll put our team here, and you either can, you know, run up and flash fling him, ghost at him, right? But sometimes you don't need to. Sometimes you can just drift through your team like this, and all of a sudden, wow, I'm fast, I can get on top of the enemy backline, right? So I want you to just build the muscle memory of just walking and bouncing off of your teammates, almost just bounce, right? Just tag. Imagine you're playing a constant game of tag whenever you play Singed, and you're always tagging your allied champions, right? That way, whenever a fight does break out, you're going to have the muscle memory of drifting through your teammates to reach people in the back of the enemy team that you normally wouldn't be able to. And this also allows you to spread all of your abilities, your poison, your fling, your poison, your W. It allows you to fling their correct targets, right? Maybe you can run through and fling this guy. Maybe you can run through and then tag these guys. Maybe you can run through and then go back through the enemy team while you're dropping your poison, and then fling somebody off of your teammate to peel them, right? There's a lot of different things you can do with this passive, but it's just there to give Singed target access and just make you annoying and fast. One thing to note, this is your auto attack range, 125, right? Pretty short, okay? However, this is the passive range. So you can see the passive range is actually quite a bit bigger than the auto attack range. Let's see if I can proc it again real quick. Right, this is the passive range. You can see how large that is, and the auto attack range is actually quite smaller than that. So you do have to have a little bit of consciousness for that whenever you're trading with enemy champions in lane, because if you are laning against someone and you're trying to, like, you know, tap them with poison and then auto attack and back off, the range of your passive is longer than the range of your auto attack, and so to get that auto attack, it's going to be, you're gonna have to walk a little bit farther than what you think. Also, to drop poison trail on them, you'll have to walk farther anyway, so just get in the habit of whenever you're trying to trade with someone in lane that you kind of click a little tiny bit past them and then you back off like this, right? The click pattern on Singed is weird. For most other champions, what you do is you would just click them and back off, right, with normal champions. But with Singed, it's not like that, because if you just click them with Singed and back off, let me show you what happens. If I just click him and back off, wow, I didn't get any poison trail down, right? You need to click through them and then back off with the poison on after you auto, which is what makes this particular interaction very, very tricky for people trying to learn Singed, because they lose a lot of damage not doing this, right? This is very, very important. This is core to understanding the laning phase for this champion. It's part of the reason why people who play Singed have a hard time transitioning to other champions, because the trading is just very different with this champion, right? but that's a good thing. I like the uniqueness of this champion. Singe's Q ability is his main damage ability. It's called Poison Trail. Singe lays a poisonous trail that deals magic damage per second. The cloud on the ground lasts for 3.25 seconds and infects enemies with a debuff. That debuff is poison. It lasts for 2 seconds. So if someone is just standing still in poison, this lasts for 5.25 seconds and will deal approximately the amount of damage that shows there on the tooltip. This is not accounting for Deathfire Touch, which applies to poison, also applies to fling. But you just use Poison Trail with your passive, and you just draw a big ass poison line throughout the enemy team and your team, right? This is how you control fights. This is your main damage tool, and you're always using this in conjunction with your passive to make your poison spread across as large of an area as possible. Okay, so let me put some enemy dummies back here. We'll do 4 of them. If I need to just put poison on and run through, very simple, right? It's not rocket science with Poison Trail. You can use this creatively, right? At Baron, you can use this to let's say that we're doing Baron, enemy team is coming from blue side. You can stand here and you can make a wall of poison to prevent people from checking the Baron easily. Same thing here. You can poison off corridors, right? In team fights, this is very, very important because let's say that there is a large fight happening over here and my team is doing Baron, right? Let's say I have people there and these guys are coming maybe from this side. I need to just try and zone them, right? So I would potentially make a line like this and just make it hard for them to enter. You see how there was a whole line of poison right across all of this area? So you need to think creatively with it, depending on where you're fighting as well. Other good points, right, are going to be just choke points in the jungle. Poison like this, learn to start doing that, make that part of your muscle memory as well, because you need to make sure that you're always covering as much area as possible. So let's say that there's just like an enemy champion here, right? The way that I would approach this is I would just go like this, tag my passive, run through, get this guy, tag my passive again, and run through. Then I've cut off this entrance and this entrance as well, right? And obviously this is going to look a lot more different when you actually have items. So let's just say I had like swiftness boots, and maybe a couple levels, right? You would have a much easier time covering all this area, and it just lets you spread your poison. And it is, you know, your passive in poison is like bread and butter. It's very simple but very effective. Poison Trail does scale pretty hard with level. This tooltip says 42.5 magic damage percent AP ratio, magic damage per second. However, we have to multiply that number by 2 to get the true damage, because it lasts for 2 seconds guaranteed, the debuff of poison, when you tag someone. So the actual ratio is 85%, not 42.5%. So we would just double every number that you see at the top there. So 31 would become 62, 20 would become 40, and then 42.5% ratio would become 85, right? But it's going to be the same method of thinking. It's just damage per second lasts for 2 seconds, right? Whenever you move, we'll go over fling first before we go over mega adhesive. One thing I do want to throw in is that when you're on a hex gate map, you can actually put your poison trail on and then fly through a hex gate and poison everybody who is doing an objective, because your poison will stay on during hex gates. This also happens during teleports as well. Fling is Singe's E ability, and we're going to again talk about that before I talk about his W. Singe flings an enemy over his shoulder, dealing damage plus 6%, scaling up to 8% at max level, max health magic damage. If you fling a target into Mega Adhesive, which is your W, they are rooted. Level 1, it's 1 second. Level 5, it's 2 seconds duration of root. The cooldown goes down with level as well, and the mana cost goes up to 100, so the mana cost is actually pretty heavy. The flat damage also goes from 50 to 90 as well. So it's a pretty simple ability. When you want to interact with the enemy champion, you just put poison on, walk up, and then you fling, and then you auto attack them. You can do the auto attack in many different ways. You can fling and then right click their body, right? Sometimes it does get a little bit slowed down, unfortunately, but normally you can just fling and right click their body like that, very smooth. Or you can do what I did earlier, and which is fling plus attack move and then run away like that. You can also just let the auto attack happen normally, because if you fling someone, Singed will just naturally attempt to auto attack them, but only after the animation is done, which is what that was, right? And you see how that took a very long time, and Singed even ran back towards them a little bit. That's how we don't like that. We don't like that delay, and we don't like We don't like having to have run back into the enemy champion that we just flung to get the auto attack off, right? You can also do auto attack first and then fling, which can prevent there's a small delay that happens after you actually do the fling auto attack if you do auto and fling first. Let me just demonstrate that. If you want to fling and then just run, it's pretty instant like this, okay? But if you want to do a fling plus auto attack and then run, there is a very, very small delay. So that is relevant, right? It's like a fraction of a second, right? But that does matter, because when you're in very hectic situations, that little fraction of a second can cost you health, and it can cause you to get damaged, right? So a good example of this is when you're laning versus Jax. Jax is a champion where if you fling him, he's going to queue back onto you, right? And so one way to help prevent this is if you just don't auto attack him, and that way you can just fling and run immediately, and it makes it a little bit harder for him to get that Q onto you if you can create enough of a gap. But if you stop to auto attack him, right, there is going to be that small delay before you can run, which just means he has a smaller chance, or a small chance of jumping back onto you and retrading onto you, right? But in general, you want to tend to try to weave an auto attack in with your fling if possible. But if your focus is on running, like in team fights, I almost never fling auto attack if I don't need to, unless the damage is absolutely free. Like if this is a team fight and I'm trying to go through my team, right, to reach this guy over here, and I'm just turning poison on, I'm flying. Well, I need to now go and target these guys over here to the right. I probably don't want to stop and attack that guy, right? The one auto attack in a late game team fight is not going to contribute a whole lot compared to me spreading poison across as many people as possible. However, if I'm just in laning phase, right, and if I'm just in laning phase and I'm trying to interact with the enemy champion, say he's maybe like guarding his wave, I can go in the bush and the creep wave is coming over here behind him. I can actually go this way and then fling him like this and then poison the entire wave as I walk down, which would allow him there. I can go behind him slightly, fling auto, and then poison him on the way down, which would give me that little bit of extra damage and also let me poison the wave at the same time, right? So there's different approaches to it. It's a very simple ability overall, and it's also tied to his W ability, so we'll go ahead and talk about that next. Singe's W is called Mega Adhesive. Singe hurls a cask of sticky liquid, grounding and slowing enemies in the area by 50% for 3 seconds. The slow increases with level. The cooldown decreases with level by 1 second each level. And the mana cost increases up to 100 by level 5 rank in this ability. So at max rank W and max rank E, they both cost 100 mana, and then your R is 100 mana, and your Q is 13 mana per second, so you can get a little bit mana hungry if you're spamming abilities too much. So just be aware of that, right? So it has a deceptively long range as well. So I can actually hit these target dummies over here from way back here, right? See that? Quite a long range, and then they get grounded. So my team would be able to technically follow up on that, because for that time that they're on the W, the grounding prevents the enemy champion from flashing or dashing away, from using mobility abilities at all. This unfortunately does not cancel self-displacements such as Jarvan's EQ, won't stop that, and it will not prevent slow immune champions from dashing, which Singed players believe is a bug. I believe it's a bug because they're slow immune, not root immune. But if the enemy champion's slow immune, like Master Yi or Sejuani, your W will not stop them from dashing, unfortunately. But for most champions, right, it will stop them from dashing or flashing away from you. It also prevents Rocket Belt. It prevents certain niche abilities, right, like Graves ult, because it's a dash on it, prevents that. Prevents Ornn from hitting his Ram ultimate because it is a small dash. It prevents Darius from using his ult because there is a very small lunge. He lunges very slightly on that ability, which counts as a dash, right? You can also use this ability to break spell shields, because normally you would have to use your fling to break a spell shield. We don't want to do that because we want to fling people and use it as CC. This is also our only other damage ability besides Poison Trail, so if you use it on a spell shield, it's very bad. It fucking sucks, right? So we want to try and break spell shields with the W. This started happening after the ability to this started happening after they changed the coding of this ability to be a missile, so that Yasuo could wind wall it and Braum could block it. But what ends up happening is we can break spell shields with it. So if you W someone under their feet, you don't actually break a spell shield. What you have to do is W past them and through them, and you'll break the spell shield, because what's happening is the missile from your W is penetrating the spell shield, right? Then you can just walk up and fling them as normal. So this ability is also very relevant in the early laning phase, and let me just show you exactly why. So let's say the enemy top laner is a ranged top laner who is sitting here and you're under your turret, and every time you walk up, they harass you, they poke you, they poke you, they poke you, right? We don't like that. What you can do is wait for the enemy champion to poke you with an auto attack right as you're walking up, and then you can turn your poison on, W the ground, flash, and then fling them into your turret. And so the reason why we have to wait, so you get the root doing that. The reason why we have to wait for them to auto attack us is that we want the auto attack to be thrown after the turret, or after you fling them, but you want it to hit you as they land under the turret. That way, it's going to draw the aggro of the turret when they land underneath and get stuck from the root of your W, right? So you want all this to happen in between the auto launching and hitting you, and that will draw turret aggro and allow you to kill these champions that are poking you under your turret if you flash on them and you fling them under, right? It's also very, very relevant whenever you are proxying, right? So let's say that I'm proxying behind the enemy turret, and then there are two champions here, right? The enemy top laner is converging on me. The enemy jungler has just come out of the jungler to try and catch me as well. Well, I need to escape. I'm gonna either run down this way, right, or I'm gonna run down this way to get out. So let's just say that we're gonna go run to the right and try and escape through the jungle through the right side. So I would turn Poison Trail on, approach this guy as I'm about to be on top of him, W fling, run away, right? And I can do that a bit faster as well on the other one, and that will give you a better idea of exactly how I do this. So I would just approach from a direction that's going to create the best amount of distance for me to get away safely. I would walk this way, W fling, and then just run away just like that. So I would just approach this target dummy from this direction, right? W down, fling, and then just walk away just like this. And they're rooted during that, and then you're able to also slow enemy champions while they chase you and ground them as well, right? But the root only activates whenever you fling someone into it. Other things you can do with this ability are obviously cut off choke points, right? Same thing with poison. Singe is all about controlling area through damage and through a slow burn effect of his abilities, right? But also just being annoying. Annoyance is a huge part of this champion's kit. So let's say, again, we'll use the example of Baron. Actually, let's do Dragon this time, right? So let's say that we're doing Dragon, right? And then the enemy team is potentially over this wall, just waiting, right? Just hovering, trying to potentially jump over the wall and kill us. So let's pretend that this blast cone's not here, right? And then let's say the enemy team is just waiting over here, trying to potentially get to us, right? If they're going to look to flash, let's just put some target dummies down to demonstrate this. If we want to stop them from coming over the wall and fighting us at Dragon, well, guess what? Now they can't come over the wall, right? Same thing when you're doing Baron. So we'll put some target dummies down here to demonstrate. My team is doing Baron. We have a pink ward in the pit, so they don't see what we're doing, but we don't want them to come over the wall anyways. You can just W down. Be very careful of doing this, however, when you are fighting Baron or Dragon, because if you're in combat with the Baron, which you will be, they will actually get vision of you, right? So you do have to be very, very careful whenever you do this to like walk away from the Baron afterwards so they lose the vision that they gain. I don't know why they get vision of you when you do this. It's weird because you're not actually dealing damage to them, but the crowd control apparently triggers the vision flag, so something to be aware of. It's also by far the easiest to hit this goofling whenever you are next to a wall, because it cuts off 180 degrees of movement to where they have a harder time just dodging you, right? So if I'm against a wall, there's an enemy champion right here, you'll see it is just absolutely piss easy because the fling has less space to travel, right? They have less space to dodge, and you can just hit this every time, right? Whenever you're against a wall. So if you're having trouble landing it, try in your games practicing to fling enemy champions into a goofling against a wall, and that will sometimes make it a bit easier. Speaking of flinging over a wall, I should talk about this before I go into the ultimate. So there are a couple of walls on Summoner's Rift where you can actually fling enemy champions over walls. This right here is one of them, right? So whenever you're proxying, this is going to be a bit more relevant to know, but this wall, you can fling people over that one, right? This wall right here, you can also fling people over as well. But you can also fling people over this wall right here, so just toss them like that. I believe you can do this wall as well. I might miss some of these because they're not very commonly used, but yeah, you can fling people over this wall in the other direction as well. The mid lane walls, I believe you can fling. Yeah, this one right here, you can fling people. Let's put a ward over here because this will be more fun to demonstrate this way. You can fling people over this wall. See how he's over there now? You can also sometimes even grab people through the wall. So there is a range to your fling. It is the range of your auto attack, right? Same exact range. This is fling range. This is auto attack range, right? Same exact range. So you can actually sometimes rip people through a wall if they're standing like this. So don't forget this. This is possible. You can grab them through a wall and fling them like this. I know it looks really wrong, but it is possible. So just bear in mind that that is an option for you. In the Dragon Pit, you can fling an enemy champion over the wall. See you later. In the Baron Pit, if someone jumps over the pit to try and steal, you can fling their ass back over the wall as well. Very, very important, especially during Baron. The Krug wall, you can fling people over this wall, right? So if someone's standing here and they're bothering you, goodbye. Same thing down here. If someone is standing, maybe you're standing over here, right? And you want to get them off of your camp, fling them over, right? That's an option for you as well. You're not going to use this too often because a lot of the time you're using this ability for damage as well as just general crowd control. But it is important to know that there are situations where you can fling champions over these walls, right? Blue buff is another one you can fling over here. And if you're having trouble, by the way, I just did this just on, you can see how my mouse indicator is red. If you're having trouble clicking enemy targets because they're underneath like a monster or a minion, you can hit tilde and then make your cursor champion target only, right? And also I recommend doing a where is it? Is under game. Yeah, treat this setting right here under game options under game. Treat target champions only as a toggle. What that does is if you tap your tilde once, you go into champion target only mode where you can only click on champions. You see that, how crazy that looks, right? But if I turn that off, right, and I go into normal targeting mode, I can't click him. You physically can't click him, right? So learning to use that to your advantage. I actually use target champion only all the time in laning phase, right? Because if there's, let's just spawn some minions so I can show you. If there's minions in the lane and I'm trying to fling someone when they're in the middle of a minion wave, sometimes it's really hard, right? Because like if I want to click this guy, enemy champion, and he's standing under the cannon, like, and we're moving very fast, we're playing fast, look how thin the margin is between actually clicking him, right? So what you can do is just turn your target champion only on, then I don't have to worry about it, right? Then you can just turn it back off and resume as normal, right? And I recommend building the muscle memory for this. So let me actually show you my webcam here, how I even do that physically. I'll just do the left click. So let me actually take this off real quick. Sorry, we're getting a little bit scuffed here, but it's for educational purposes. So here's my hand, right? So I will physically take my finger and then just tilde, and then immediately back onto my other keys, because it's muscle memory at this point, right? So turn it back off, tilde again. Sorry if my keyboard's a little bit dirty. I don't think it's that bad though, but that is something that you're going to want to get used to, especially if you're going to be playing this champion a lot, because it's super relevant for making sure that you're hitting the correct targets at the correct times and not griefing your fling. Your fling has a cooldown at single target. You want to make sure that you hit the right targets with this ability, right? So Singe's biggest ability and arguably his most important cooldown is his Insanity Potion. Singe, for 25 seconds, will get ability power, armor, magic resistance, movement speed, health regen, and mana regen. And during this 25 seconds, he also gets grievous wounds on his Q poison trill as well. So you use this every time you're skirmishing with more than just a 1v1. You pop it immediately for fights. It's very, very important because without this ability active, Singed is just a very, very weak champion, right? Singed needs his Insanity Potion to be relevant. If this ability is down, we do not fight. If this ability is down, we ping our team back away. Don't fight. I can't fight, right? You need to be very, very, very clear with your comms and your pings to tell your team, right, if this is down, then I don't want to fight. So if it's down, right, I would just ping, 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 and say it's cooldown, and then ping away, right? However, when it is up, you can see you start to move a little bit faster. This is the level 6 ability, so it's going to be a little bit weaker. The level 11 ability is a bit stronger, and the level 16 ability is way stronger, so it gives 25, 55, and then 85 stats. And the reason why this is so important is because it means your level 16 is very, very, very important, because level 16, this ability is absolutely bonkers, right? So the way you use it in lane, in the 1v1, we'll go over that first, then we'll go over the actual team fighting. The way that you use this in lane, in the 1v1, is let's say that the enemy champion is standing on the wave, and you're not able to beat him without your ultimate to catch the wave and then go proxy, right? What you would do is you can just pop your R to farm, and then you can, walk at him, farm the wave, use these stats from your ability to literally stat check him, and then run around and get your proxy with your extra movement speed and extra armor, MR, extra ability power, right? And then just go for the proxy like this. Then you usually have time to just get one more wave like this, with the duration. Always look at the duration down here on your buff bar of the Insanity Potion. Then as it's wearing out, we'll just run away just like that, and all of a sudden I've proxied away with the ultimate up. It's going to be up again in a little over a minute, and we're able to recall, right? Reset. By the time we come back to lane, it's going to be almost off cooldown as well, right? So that is a very, very important pattern to get into if you cannot beat the enemy champion and proxy without doing that, right? Another thing that is very important is team fighting, right? With this ability, that's what Singed is made to do from the ground up. So how do we team fight with this ability? The same way you would team fight without it, but you shouldn't be team fighting without it. So what you would do, right, is let's just, again, put the example of all the target dummies up. If I need to run quickly through my team, I would simply pop my abilities, right? I would use my ultimate, pop Ghost, and then Flash Fling just like that. All of a sudden I'm running away, I'm fast, right? If you don't have your Ghost, you don't need to use it, right? You can oftentimes just use your Ghost or your Flash or your Ghost, whichever one is available, and get through the team fight that way. And then you would just continuously like be running around and tagging the fight like over and over, right? There's a 8-second cooldown on your passive, so you just go back through again. And then as you're running through, your passive will tag again, and then you're out of there, right? Or you're back in. You're weaving in and out of the fight a lot of the time with Singed. You're not staying in one place. You almost never stay in one place as Singed. You're always spreading poison, spread. But it's also important to have a recognition of who the important targets are, right? If I need to stay on top of a very fed enemy target to make sure that they die, then you can do that. But in general, you do want to try and spread your poison around. And remember, again, this is a 25-second duration, so at that level 16, it is a very, very powerful ability to use because it just makes you that much faster and that much stronger. So if I were to get, like, you know, just a couple items here to have some more movement speed, and I pop this ability, and I pop Ghost, you can see the amount of movement speed that I can generate is actually very high, almost 1,200 movement speed there. And if I was coming out of a teleport, I'd have even more movement speed, right? So very important is to be aware of what you can do with this ability, and once you have a general understanding of how much damage you can actually tank with your ultimate up, you'll be a much more effective Singed player, but that does take practice. So practice. Go into games. Don't be afraid to just pop this ability, just slam the button if you think you're in danger at all. That is a very important thing I try to teach people, is if you're proxying right and you don't know where people are and you think you're in danger, if the enemy top laner like even walks back a little bit and looks at you suspiciously, you can probably assume that their jungler is coming from this way. Just pop that R button, just hit it, right? Make yourself a hard target. Don't be a soft target, right? And try to make it as hard for them as possible to kill you, and try to survive if you can, right? But it is a very, very important ability. If this cooldown, again, is not available, you don't fight. You are not a champion. Just think about it this way. Without your ult, you are not a champion when you play Singed. Singed is only a champion when his ult is on, okay? Weird way to think about it because most champions don't work like that, but Singed is exactly like that. If you don't have your ult, you're not a champion, okay? Without your ult, you don't team fight. Without your ult, you don't group. Once you have it, then you can do that stuff. But without it, you don't do any of that, okay? I won't do a matchup tier list in this video because we deal with easy matchups and hard matchups similarly. We care more about whether a matchup is melee or ranged because that's how we decide how to approach the lane. If you want very specific tips for each matchup, then check out my spreadsheet link in the description. What I'm instead going to give you is a complete walkthrough of a game showing how to play every single stage of the game, providing a detailed breakdown of every phase: laning, mid-game, late game. So as Singed in the laning phase, you always have specific goals, and because you're playing the entire game to scale, you have to find ways to push and proxy, crash into the enemy turret, walk behind their turret, proxy farm the wave, and then recall and come back to lane. What this does is it allows you to get stronger and stronger gradually throughout the lane, while hopefully keeping the enemy top laner trapped under their turret and making it hard for them to recall, and you get stronger and stronger so they have less windows to kill you in the lane. Which allows you to scale up to your level 16 a lot more smoothly and effectively. So what I'm going to do here, what I'm going to demonstrate in this video, right here, this example, is actually called a slow push wave 1 into crash wave 2, and then proxy wave 3. This is the most common thing you can do on Singed versus melee champions to start your laning phase on a very stable footing. So what I'm doing is I'm poisoning those melee minions as they are about to die. My poison will last hit, then I'm just going to slowly push. I'm not autoing the wave at all. I'm getting some damage on her when I can, on the enemy champion. But otherwise, I'm just pushing very, very gently, very slowly, okay? And now this is the timing you need to pay attention to, is when you have the first wave shoved and the next wave you have shows up, then I'm going to push very aggressively now, because now I have the full damage of my next creep wave to attack this creep wave that the enemy has and crash this wave. The reason why it's important to wait for the next creep wave is because you get a lot of damage on the enemy wave from your minions. Minions deal percent current health damage to enemy minions, so they deal a lot of damage to enemy minions, right? So knowing that, we use the assistance of our wave to now crash wave 2. Now Ambessa has to make a choice, okay? So let me pause right here. She has to make a choice right here, okay? Does she pay attention to the Singed, chase me, and lose these minions under her turret, and I probably just ghost and get away, and then she loses minions for no reason? Or does she stay under her turret and farm? She's going to stay under her turret and farm. I'm going to aggro this wave, then I'm just going to start kiting down and proxying this next wave right here, okay? Just like this. And then sometimes you have to push your S button to make sure that those the backline minions don't de-aggro you. Then we're just going to farm. You see how she thought about coming down? She walked into Fog of War second. She thought about checking us and trying to kill us, but it's already too late. I've gotten most of this wave. She's trapped under her turret with the next wave already. If she was to leave this lane right now to chase me, she would lose her cannon, and that's very bad for her, right? When the next wave shows up after that third cannon wave, you have to choose, do I want to stay for this wave or not? I choose not to, because I don't actually have enough items to stay. I go recall, I get my items, I have boots, refill potion. Now I have to decide, do I teleport to lane, or is the wave pushing towards me? The way you see if the wave is pushing towards you, right, is you look under their turret and you see on the map right here, you can see that she's still farming minions when her wave shows up. That means that the wave is going to be offsided and favor her half of the lane. That means her next wave comes sooner, and this wave will push into me, so I don't have to teleport, right? If she cleared all those minions very quickly and the wave was in an even state in the middle of the lane, I would probably teleport to not lose experience. But because I know this wave is going to push into me 100% with no input, right? She knows it too. She's trying to crash, but because I know that, I don't have to teleport, right? And she's trying to get a recall off of her own by crashing the wave, because she knows that it's going to push towards me no matter what, right? So she's actually trying to crash the wave in so she can recall. I know what she's trying to do. I prevent the crash, and I'm just going to repeat my same exact pattern here, right? Just look to push this wave, right? When the wave dies, I'm going to immediately move into a proxy, right? So the wave dies, I immediately walk into river, look for a proxy, and then we essentially just rinse and repeat, right? We are looking to scale, right? So this is going to help us get there. It's going to get us to our level 6. Once we're level 6, we're a real champion, and then we can play the rest of the game out from there. But this is the most basic way to proxy on Singed and how to get prio in your lane to do that, right? So you can ward over the wall, you can ward for grumps, check where their jungler is. Right now I see that there's fighting happening in my bot side jungle. You can also walk back up to the turret and right click whenever the crystals show up. I would recommend not doing this unless there's crystals, because the crystals give you extra range on your auto attack on the turret and extra damage as well to grab a plate. So always keep an eyeball on those plates as well. Then we're going to move back down for more proxy as well here. Not sure where the jungler is, but that's why that ward's there. And if you ever feel like you're in danger, if you ever feel like you have low resources, then you would simply recall or execute, right? So I see her walking to the tri-bush there. I don't know exactly where she is, but let me highlight this little strip of vision right here. To be outside of vision of the top turret, you have to be below this line, and to be outside of vision of the bottom turret, the tier 2 turret, you have to be above this line. So below this line and above this line, you're actually functionally invisible because you'll be in Fog of War. So what you're going to see me do is walk, after I clear this wave, you're going to see me walk into this little section of Fog of War, and then I'm going to hug this area right here, this line, and then just walk into this bush, and that way they actually don't see me. Walk in the bush to recall. It's a small mind game, but it is effective, right? Because if they don't see you on the map, they're going to assume that they missed something while they were farming. Whenever you walk in there to take your recall, smarter player will know what's going on, and they're going to check the bush for you. but for most of your opponents, this is going to work well to hide your recall, essentially. So you're going to see me finish this creep wave, and then I will hug that little horizontal line right there, and then I'm going to step in the bush and recall, right? So she probably knows where I am, but it does cover you if you're recalling, because as long as you're in the bush, they don't know if you're actually recalling or if you're staying, right? So we're going to play that mind game. Then on my next recall, I'm going to either choose between getting tier 2 boots first or getting components first. I choose tier 2 boots because, I choose components because the combat stats are a bit more important right now. And then I'm going to go back to lane. She's still trying to crash from before, by the way. She hasn't crashed yet. She still is on, let me pause, Doran's shield, right? And health potion, whereas I'm on boots, Doran's ring, refill potion, and amp tome and a ruby crystal, right? So I have way better items than her currently, as she is still struggling to crash this wave. So my early game is really stable. If she had a chance to recall and buy items, I would be technically underpowered compared to her right now, because Singed, again, without your ultimate, is not a full champion, right? So she's just stuck farming while I'm able to get these recalls off and get stronger and stronger, right? I even have the chance to go for a solo kill right here, right? So I use opportunity to level up. I could level up before her, right? And then trap her in W and run up with Poison Trail. I don't think I actually kill her here if I remember this game correctly, but I do trap her under turret again, which is awesome. Wait for the poison to wear off, then I hit the plate. Wait for her to try to jump away. She doesn't actually do it. And then we're just going to keep pushing, keep proxying, keep her trapped in the turret, right? So next wave comes out, we just push. She's trapped in the turret again, and now I get the plate. I'm getting stronger and stronger as the game goes on, and then I'm going to go ahead and proxy the next wave again, and she's still on her starting items, by the way. She has not recalled yet, because if she does, she's going to lose minions. If she's smart, she'll recall and then TP back in. She's 49 farm, by the way, here, and I'm 66, so I'm just getting ahead of her slowly, right? And now, because we're about 6 minutes, I can choose to teleport to lane if I want to. I can choose to walk back. This is a good time to teleport because at 10 minutes, your teleport unleashes. So I'm going to go ahead and teleport to lane here. Let's talk about how to play the mid to late game as Singed. One of the most common questions that I get is, Minish Cap, how do I know what side of the map to be on after laning phase? So the way that you know what side of the map to be on after laning phase is dependent on whether or not your teleport is up. And this is a very easy question to answer now because everyone gets teleport now, right? So if your teleport is up, you want to be on the opposite side of the map as to where the next objective fight is going to be. In this map state right here, in this map state, Dragon is dead, okay, so there's no Dragon, and Baron is up. So I want to be on the far opposite side of the map so I can get as much pressure across the entire map as possible, right? This allows me to hard shove down here while the enemy has to think about me, and then my team can dance around Baron, and if a fight happens, I can teleport to there, right? So let's go ahead and just fast forward a bit. I see that, you see I'm farming. My team is potentially looking to fight. I'm teleporting in because I see that I see that the enemy team is clearing the vision, so there's a possibility that they're starting Baron, right? So I decide, hey, if they're going to go Baron, I'm going to TP in, we're going to fight right now. But what have I accomplished on the way there? I have pushed these waves almost to the turret, meaning that if they don't answer this push over here, they're going to lose a lot of minions, right? So I TP in, now I have this giant shield, and guess what? Turns out they are doing Baron, so now I'm going to start a fight immediately. And, you know, if I had vision of this, the play would be different. If I knew that they were or were not doing Baron, if I knew that they weren't doing Baron, I'd stay bottom and push, right? Because if the enemy top laner teleports down, he's going to group and try and force a fight. But if your TP's up, you can get there quickly, so you should be on the opposite side of the map to get as much value as possible, right? Don't be afraid of being away from your team if your teleport is up. You need to get in the habit of clicking on your map and panning your camera around to look for wards to teleport to all the time. Look for minions to teleport to, right? You can use your F keys as well, but I just click on the map. I find it to be a little bit less clunky to do that, because I can look on the map, see where the wards are, click there, and then TP immediately, right? A lot faster than trying to F key and then move your camera or mouse over. So I TP in, have a big ass shield, then we fight, blah, 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 win the fight. That's how you decide where to be in the mid to late game. Another super late game example from the same game. So now my team is waiting for Elder Dragon to spawn, and the enemy base is being hard sieged by my team as well. And I'm on the opposite side of the map with teleport and with Ocean Soul. The enemy Nasus is attempting to split push, and I'm over here preventing him because I have teleport. So his strategy to progress the game is not available for him, right? My team then gets Elder Dragon, and I can now shove this wave all the way in. What's going to happen is my team will then push bottom. You can see they're all pushing bottom here, and I keep panning my camera. I'm looking all the time, looking. See? Pan camera, look. Pan camera, look. Pan camera, look. Over and over. to see if I need to teleport and start fighting with a team, right? And also to just continuously look for teleport opportunities. It turns out that we don't actually need to fight there because my team just slow sieges. And I slowly push these waves all the way in. And now all of a sudden, I have created a third wave in the enemy base that they have to deal with as well of super minions. If I just rewind and I show you, if I was just sitting bottom with my team this entire time because I'm afraid that they're gonna fight and I need to be there, then what's going to happen is the Nasus will just split push his way into our base, even through super minions, and he's going to make me have to recall and get scared, right? But I want to be the one in control, right? So I want to set the pace. That's why teleport is so powerful in the mid to late game. You can still do this with Ghost Flash, just as long as your role quest teleport is available, right? Still doable. Just be very wise with the longer cooldown of the role quest teleport, right? But I create a third wave of supermans into the enemy base, and then we just fight and we just end the game. Level 1 wave skip strat versus ranged champions. So in this example, you'll see I'm against a Jace matchup, and he is defending the level 1 proxy. If you could get the level 1 proxy without getting hit by the enemy ranged top laner, that's very good, obviously. But in this situation, and in most situations, we will not actually be able to do that without taking all of our health and damage. So what I'm going to do is wait for the entire first wave to meet in the lane. He'll go up and start last hitting it. I'm just going to completely skip it. I know it sounds crazy, but this is the better alternative to getting slowly pushed in by the enemy ranged top laner and losing all of your health and not getting help from your jungler, because in solo queue and ranked, you have to assume you're not going to get help, right? So I fully skip the entire first creep wave, and I just immediately start proxying on wave number 2. I accept the fact that I'm going to be down 6 CS for the rest of the laning phase, but in exchange, I'm going to actually get farm that I would normally just not get, and get experience that I'd normally be dying for, right? Then I go behind again and start proxying this cannon wave right here. And then once that's dead, you can return to lane with a defensive component against AD top laners that are ranged, cloth armor against AP top laners, null magic mantle. You can get either of these. You can get boots if you rather have the movement speed right and refill potion. But just buy a component and come back to lane. If the enemy jungler does not actually match you or gank you, you can even stay for one more wave, which is what I'm going to do here. I'm going to actually fast forward a bit. I'm farming the next wave as well, and I'm going to come to lane with a lot of gold, more gold than I normally would be able to, on a better reset timing as well. So actually execute here, because the enemy Jace is going to be walking down from turret there. I assume he is going to be, because he can hit me for a long distance. And then I'm going to go ahead and buy potion and refill potion and boots, right? Which will let me come to lane with a lot of sustain. The Jace is out of mana from hitting the minions, and I'm able to now trap him under his turret, even though he's a ranged champion, right? All because I skipped the first wave. Yes, he's going to have a level advantage, but at least I'm able to farm without dying for 15 deaths for the first, 5 minutes of the game, which is really preferable. Bouncing off of your turret into a crash into a proxy. We don't want to skip wave level 1 to proxy against melee champions, and I don't want you to get in the habit of just randomly going for level 1 proxy every game and hoping that it works out. We are going to learn to lane properly, because it is very important to succeeding as a League of Legends player, not just on Singed, but in general, right? So against Darius, he can kill you level 1 very easily. Just walks at you, autos you, runs you down, you're dead. You can't do much about it. So what I'm doing is I'm giving up every minion on this wave. My goal is to let him push into me, because I'm going to use my turret as a source of DPS and my minion waves as a source of DPS to then supercharge the wave back into his turret and crash it and go around for a proxy, okay? So I'm giving up every minion. I have 0 minions at almost 2 minutes, right? The wave is now under my turret, so my turret is DPSing it. I'm going to last hit with Poison Trail. Normally I recommend not hitting it at all, but I'm going to last hit it for Poison Trail just for last hits, because why not? My wave shows up now, and you'll notice my wave DPSs the wave as well as the turret. So now the wave is slowly pushing back into him. From this, I'm going to pause right here. From this point, what will happen is if neither of us touch the wave, right, my wave will actually show up before his and start hitting the wave before his wave hits my wave, and thus my wave will DPS faster with more overall damage and push into his wave, because I'll have more minions for a longer amount of time. His minions will get deleted, right? He knows this, so he wants to trade with me very aggressively, because he knows that I want to now use that to crash the wave. So what I'm doing is called bouncing off my turret, right? So he's going to trade with me very aggressively here. I'm just waiting for last hits, but I'm essentially waiting for my next wave to show up before I push super hard. He's going to trade with me very hard here, right? I'm going to back off, trade back with him with a fling, And then he actually takes some turret shots, which is good for me. But even if he didn't take turret shots there, my plan is the same now that his phase rush, his Storm Raiders is down. So my next wave shows up. I have 3 range minions. These have double the AD of melee minions. I have a cannon minion, which has a lot of damage on the wave. I have 3 more melee minions, and then I have 3 more range minions, okay? And if you don't know, minions deal % current health damage to enemy minions. So minions hitting minions pushes it very quickly. So I use this knowledge to then crash this wave in. Just push very hard. Right? Crash it all in. Then I'm going to go in the river and look for a proxy. Now he has to make a choice, right? He has to decide, do I give up this massive wave under turret? Right? And chase Singed? He probably gets away. He has exhaust and ghost. Or do I just sit there under my turret and last hit and let Singed proxy? They're usually going to choose the last hit. If they don't, just fling, run away, right? Look for your proxy, force it if you have to. If not, right, if you're too low HP, then you can just back off and recall, right? I don't have to proxy from this state, right? I can just let this crash and just recall. And I would still be ahead of him in the lane because it's still going to push back towards me. The proxy at this point is just extra, right? It's extra icing on top of the cake. If you can get it, by all means go for it, but from this state, I don't have to. So I've successfully bounced this wave into his turret. I'll show you guys one more example. So this example is a Tryndamere matchup with Halo Blades and Ignite. You have to be very defensive against this matchup. Not as defensive as Darius, because once Tryndamere's cooldowns are down, he can't kill you, but Darius can kill you without anything if he just sits there and hits you, right? So last hit what I can. The idea is the same though. I want him to push into me slowly. Then I'm going to use the damage of my turret and the next waves to bounce off of my turret and crash back into him and then find a proxy, right? So I'm gonna just keep last hitting what I can. He's very scared to walk up because he knows that I can get level 2 and fling him here, right? So I'm just last hitting what I can, not DPS in the wave too hard, right? Be mindful of not damaging the wave too much, because if you damage it too much, it's gonna bounce early and then you're not able to use the extra damage of your turret to push in, right? So the enemy wave took 2 turret shots there, that's enough. I'm gonna now start bouncing off of my turret because my wave is now here, right? So his wave shows up as well. Let me pause this again. What is going to happen when the next waves spawn and come to lane? My wave will come sooner than his because it's frozen on my side of the lane, right? So that means the wave is going to damage the enemy wave sooner and DPS faster, and I can crash into his turret because I'll have more damage faster than he will, right? He knows this. He wants to damage me and prevent me from crashing because he wants to the opposite, right? He wants to crash into my turret and either proxy and recall or just recall, right? But me knowing that, I need to prevent that and use the advantage that I have from being defensive early on, right, and crash wave into his turret. So he's actually killed my cannon already, which is bad for me. I fling him into my turret there, get a turret shot, and he kills another range minion, right? So I only have 1 range minion left alive now, but that's enough. Knowing that I still have a minion advantage, I'm going to go ahead and just start pushing this immediately, and then hard crash into his turret. This is the advantage that Singed has. Other champions, if they had this thin of a wave, wouldn't be able to do this. Singed can do this because you have a lot of wave clear early game, right? That is your main tool in the laning phase, that you have more wave clear than almost every other champion in the laning phase, right? At least pre-level 6. Then I'd go around for a proxy, right? Start proxying immediately. And then now at this point, he knows he's screwed because now that I'm proxying, I can recall very effectively as long as I get the wave, right? He knows this. He's going to try and follow me here. I fling him away, finish my proxy off, then I just leave. And you can see the CS difference. He's 21 CS here, and I'm 27 CS. I'm already ahead of him, right? Then I just proxy, and then the rest of my lane is going to be chill because the hardest part of the game is over. The hardest part for Singed is levels 1 to 5 before his first recall. If you can get through that, you can get through the rest of the lane. Here's a full game example. We're going to break down everything that I've taught you into one single game. I'm going to look for level 1 proxy, right? And this is why you don't do this usually, is because the enemy top laner will defend, right? So level 1 proxy, I don't want you to rely on it. I want you to learn how to lane properly. The enemy top is a Nasus. And what is Nasus going to do? He's going to try to stack his Q up. What are we going to do? We are going to try to take as many turret plates as possible. Same thing I just taught you guys. We're going to slow push wave 1, crash wave 2 hopefully, and look to just attack his turret plates over and over and over. Because Nasus is not like most champions. Most champions would sit there and just use all their abilities on you when you're under turret. Nasus, however, is going to use his Q to farm minions, which is his main damage ability. Knowing this, I can crash waves under his turret and just start hitting his turret plates, right? I actually messed up my push. I don't think it even matters much because I'm just going to push this next wave immediately as well and just attack his plates over and over and over as much as I can before he gets sheen. Once Nasus gets sheen, the matchup flips into his favor by a little bit. But before he has sheen, you see how he's actually right there, he's queuing the minion instead of me. Once he has sheen, right? He has much more damage against me. I have to be much more careful. But before he has Sheen, he's not as bad. And this guy actually has Ghost and Flash, meaning he has no teleport early on until his roll quest is up. So I'm able to just relentlessly crash these waves and attack his turret plates, which is what I'm going to start doing now. Right, he's going to Q me there. That's fine. He's not going to Q me again because he sees a cannon coming, right? And he needs to last at the cannon for a plus 12 on his Q. He's not going to Q me here. I don't think he's going to Q me here. He's not Qing me here, right? I was correct. So I just walk around, start hitting this plate as much as I can. If I can't get it, it's fine, but I want to get this plate for income. Nice, it's 1 plate at 2.5 minutes. Very good. He used his Q on the cannon as well, so I'm good here mostly. If he follows me, I will ghost away. He's going to try and guard this wave a bit. Ah, you're cringe, Nasus, whatever. This is fine, actually, by the way. So look at the wave. It's still going to crash under his turret. It's still fine. The amount of damage that my minions will do to his wave is not that high because the wave is crashed in. My minions will focus the turret. His minions are going to focus my wave, and his turret's going to focus my wave. So even though I had to leave early, it's bouncing back into me. I don't want to miss these minions, however, because they're already low. I'm going to teleport back into lane and start pushing immediately. I'm already 10 CS up as well, by the way. And the turret plate up as well. So he wants to crash into my turret. You see this, how he's using E on the wave? He knows that if he can't recall, he's fucked. So, knowing this, I'm going to push immediately and just start crashing into his turret as hard as I can. And the purpose of this, again, is not only to farm and scale, but also to prevent him from recalling while I get better and better recalls, make it harder and harder for him to recall for his Sheen. The longer I can delay him from getting items like his Sheen, the longer I can keep proxy farming, and in the case of the Nasus matchup, attack his turret plates, right? This is how you get ahead versus Nasus. You attack his turret plates. So just hard crashing the wave. He has to still choose to either Q me or to Q the minions. He's choosing the minions. He actually misses that one. But he's very low on health now. He's getting lower on mana as well. He does have mana flow ban, I believe, but I don't really care. The wave's under the turret. I'm going to ignore him. Go for the proxy. His Q is down. I think he loses that cannon now. Yeah, sit down, you doggy. You lost your cannon. Get out of here, bro. I'm going to proxy this. My team is fighting the jungle. I'm going to look over there and move if I have to. Looks like they're fine, so I'm going to go back to lane. And now I'm going to walk up and just smack this turret, knowing that he's going to use his Q on the wave. Actually, I'm going to proxy this next wave. I lied to you. I'm dishonest. But the concept is the same, right? I'm going to eventually go back to his turret. I'm going to also stop his recall here if he goes for it. Sometimes they'll just full send a recall without teleport up. And so I'm going to slowly slide back over there and see if he's recalling. If he is, I'm going to put W down. But I'm running low on mana now, so I have a chance to recall. He has a hard time recalling, though, remember, because he's going to lose minions on the next wave if he backs, because I can come to lane very quickly and start pushing immediately. He's going to center a turret and last hit every minion, so it's going to be harder for him to recall, right? I'm 42 minions to his 28. He probably recalls here, right? But he's still going to lose minions on this wave. There's also a cannon wave, so I have a chance to take one more turret plate here, because the cannons will tank a lot of turret damage. They also deal a lot of damage to turrets as well, right? So he did recall, but that's fine. I'm just going to push. He doesn't have teleport. This guy's going to have to ghost back to lane to save this turret plate, and I don't think he's going to do that, right? I just shove. Make sure that you always right-click cannon minions. Always DPS them down, okay? That's very important. If you don't right-click cannons, you're gonna lose a lot of DPS on these waves. I'm going to back off. As he withers me, he's going to start queuing. I got another plate there. I'm flinging this minion to let the wave freeze further to my side. It gives me more room to maneuver. And farm these minions without getting hit by him. As I say, as I get hit by him, that is what it is. And now I'm gonna go for the proxy immediately. He does have Sheen now, but his Q stacks are very low, so I don't think it matters. I'm just gonna look for the proxy here.
It's nearly time.
And then start proxying immediately. Once I have a chance to attack his turret plates again, I'll go for it. But I've already gotten 2 turret plates before 5 or 6 minutes, so it doesn't matter too much. Then I will just start proxying again. Again. Behind tier 2 this time. So the benefit of, I should have mentioned this earlier, but the benefit of proxying behind tier 2 turret is that you kill the wave faster and you recall faster, right? So you would think it's kind of dumb to go behind tier 2 turret, but it's actually not, because you kill the wave sooner, then you can run back to lane sooner, right? And continue this strategy of trapping the enemy top laner under their turret. Because if you wait to proxy underneath, or sorry, behind their tier 1 turret, it's longer for you to actually hit the wave. I would have just now started hitting the wave, right? If I was proxying behind the tier 1 turret. I'm going to move over here and check. Oh, yep, their jungler is here. So I was watching my map earlier, and I saw their jungler was actually moving towards the left side of our jungle after ganking mid, right when my Vladimir died in lane. So I moved to check the blue buff just in case he's there. He is there. He's low. Ult, kill him, right? My ult is running now, so I can use this to just push indiscriminately. He's not going to kill me through my ultimate. Not yet anyways. He's not strong enough yet. Always kite away from him after you fling him to make sure it's harder for him to get a free Q on you. Nasus is going to lifesteal a lot. He also has fleet footwork, right, to sustain more, but we don't care about that. Our goal is the same, to just push, push, push. You see his Q's hurt a lot more now. He's going to actually ghost at me, or something to ghost away as well. I'm going to ping my jungler for help. I don't think that he's able to kill me here, by the way. No, he's not. My jungler is nearby. I have a plant as well, so we just chill. We just chill. And we leave. My teleport is up, by the way, so I can TP back in the lane. I'm still almost 20 CS ahead. And I'm going to go right back. We're going to go Rylai's first against Nasus, like I talked about in the item section. Rylai's is usually your best first item. Not always, but usually. Because it does help you crowd control these champions. Nasus is a big victim of Rylai's as well. In team fights, you just fling him off your team. That's all you do against Nasus, is fling him away from your team. Fling him away from your team. Don't let him get those Qs on your team, because against Singed, he's going to get very stacked up no matter what. Make him take extra damage for the Q. Walk through as much poison as possible, right? Once he Qs a minion, I'll go for these minions back here. Not Q the minion, bro. He's not going to, that's fine. Just push. I'm gonna wait for him to Q a minion here. Once he Qs a minion, I'm gonna walk up, hit this turret, and then back off immediately. He Qs me, but I put poison on him as well for DPS there. I also have enough gold for Rylai's now. The combined cost from three full components is 450. So I can back for that whenever I need to. But again, the goal is the same. I know his ult is down, right? I know his ghost is down as well. His ult might be back up, but he still has no ghost, so I'm probably not in danger of dying here. I can also goofling him off of myself to survive. As long as you have mana, you can goofling, right? A lot of enemy top laners will attack you when they see you have low mana, because it's harder for you to get away, because you cannot use all three of your ghost ult, your fling, your ult, and your goo, right? So if you have all three available, if you have mana, then you can get away more easily. So when you are low mana, be very careful, because a smart top laner will wait for you to be low mana and then attack you. I'm going to recall there. I'm kind of chunked on HP. I still have a huge CS lead. I have 3 turret plates on this guy, right? My lane is looking incredible. I have a full Rylai's, so if he wants to chase me now, it's going to be harder for him, even with him having fleet footwork and ghost, ult, flash, all that stuff, right? So if he chases me, he will take extra damage for it. This is actually a small mistake by me. I should wait to crash this wave, but my bad, it is what it is. I can put W on his wave to slow it down a bit, and then make my wave push up faster, but he's taking it, so it's not going to matter. My goal is the same though, right? I still want to just crash this wave in, and if I can attack his turret plates, I will. If not, no worries. He has swiftness boots because I rushed Rylai's, but he's just not going to be fast enough to deal with me, I think. He's going to move to defend this proxy a bit, but his Q is down. Nope, it's not. He has a ward in the bush, but I'm going to pop ult. I don't know exactly where their jungler is because I haven't tracked these camps yet, right? When you're proxying, you need to be mindful of where the enemy jungler is, right? Jungler will usually start the game on top side and then path towards the enemy, okay? And path towards any enemy bot lane, right? Usually, not always. But knowing this, right, you can go in their jungle during your proxy and get vision of their camp, and that will actually let you know when they'll be back towards top, right? So pay attention to my map as those Krugs respawn. That will give you a general timer of when the enemy jungler is going to be nearby, okay? Because if the camp is up, they're going to be there soon, okay? Always bear that in mind. Swiftness boots this game. The team has a lot of slows, but a lot of mixed damage as well. We're going to swiftness boots. And then just jog back to lane. Ruby Crystal builds into either Liandry's or Protoplasm Harness, which is going to almost always be one of our next 2 items. So I'm going to go ahead and build Ruby Crystal here. Yeah, tracking the jungler seems like it's a very daunting task, but it's actually very easy, guys. Don't stress too much. As long as you get vision of the enemy jungler's camp as you are going for your proxy, that's the most important part. Get vision of the camp, This allows you to know whenever they're going to come back, and then just put wards over over in the jungle. It's very easy, guys. It's not complicated. And if you want to watch a specific proxy guide that goes into more depth than what I have here in this general guide, then I have plenty of proxy guides on my channel as well. You can check those out. So the Rylai's makes it very hard for him to chase me. You see how he's just trying to walk at me and get damage on me, but he can't anymore because of Rylai's. He takes a lot of free damage from me, loses a wave under his turret. He actually walked back towards me here, so I'm gonna be a little bit careful now. Yep. I know that I was in trouble of getting ganked here because the Nasus was running at me, so I'm gonna pop my ult, pop my ghost, and just run away with Rylai's. This guy does have flash, but I don't think you're gonna be able to kill me here again, brother. Nope, I'm chilling. Grab these plants to heal up. I can go back in here as well, actually. This Nasus ult is almost down. My Vlad's big here. I'm big here. Yeah, GG, bro. This one's looking rough for the enemy team. Looking great for me, though. I have an almost 30 CS. Actually, I have an over 30 CS lead now. After he gave up that wave and died, he's losing another wave now as well. So my farm lead's going to be astronomical over this guy. That was a disastrous play by him because he got tilted and chased me because I was just outplaying him and proxying him the whole time, right? So an absolute disaster for the enemy top laner, but an absolute win for me. Leave before the minion dies. I can actually stay and finish this turret because I know he has no teleport. If I look at role quests, mine is done. I hit tab and see his is not done, so I can greed here and go for this turret plate. The enemy jungler is here. I'm going to back off immediately. But I have killed the turret, so I am chilling. I am chilling.
Mix, swirl, mix.
Then I will simply recall and reset and jog back to lane. Alright, I'm going to go Leandry's this game. I've set on Leandry's components. So I have bought Haunting Guys and Amp's Tome. My turret is taking damage for the first time now at almost 14 minutes in the game. Can I catch you? Probably not. That's fine. I do have a level up on him here, though, so I'm probably stronger. Nope, no level up anymore. That's fine. But this game is looking very good for me, regardless. I want to try and keep this cannon in poison. That's why I'm pathing this direction, so I can maximize the poison duration of cannon. He's ulting. I'm going to ult as well. Just kite him out. I feel like I should beat him here, but he's kind of shitting on me. Okay, I don't actually beat this champion, unfortunately. Am I dead? Alright, my bad. I made the mistake of fighting an enemy champion when I have a huge item advantage, a huge CS advantage, and a huge gold advantage. I made the mistake of fighting an enemy champion and thinking I could do damage on Singed before level 16. So if that teaches you anything, it should teach you that level 16 is hugely important on Singed and that you are not a 1v1 champion. You are a team fighting scaling champion, right? My bad on that one, but you know what? For the purpose of the guide, I'll leave it in. I'm not gonna make myself look better. I'm gonna show mistakes as well. I think that's very important to show to help people learn. Everyone makes mistakes, right? Your favorite streamer messes up as well, right? Faker messes up, right? Not in the same way that I do, but I'm sure he has things that he does that he considers mistakes of his own, right? So I'm gonna move towards mid here. I mean, tier 2 top turret is down. We're kind of hard stomping enemy team, and then just put Rylai's on Ashe. You're not getting away, brother. You're permaslowed. You're dead. When the enemy Nasus eventually pushes back up, I can move back up there, right? However, he's slow pushing right now, so there's no point in me going back up there. I'm going to chase this cast, however. He's half HP, and he has to burn a lot of mana to get away from me. I'm pretty sure I can kill this guy here. Yep. That's 3 ult stacks. That's 4. Now his ult's going to cost a ton of mana now. Now he's out of mana. He can't ult again. He's dead. He can ult again somehow. Wow, that's crazy. But I got the kill on him regardless. And then just push. I'm going to push this all the way in. So now Nasus sees me bottom. Instead of freezing the lane and just last hitting with his Q forever, he's pushing in because he knows that I'm across the map getting more value for my team. He doesn't like that. He wants me to be punished for leaving him in the side lane to farm. But it's okay because I'm going to crash this wave in. My team's dealing with him. I hope he doesn't kill all of them there. He might. He's not exactly weak. Look at the map here, though, right? 2 people are dead, and 2 people just moved from mid, so I have to leave now. So the jungler is here. I might be in danger now. Yeah, he's gonna zone my fling here. Kassadin's here. Ah, I tried to live. My bad. It's okay. It's okay, I think. No worries. The Nasus died as well. I got a lot more value than him. I got 4 tier 2 turret plates in bot lane. I have a lot of gold. My team just got 2 turret plates on tier 3 as well. Right? I get Leanderies. I'll go for Protoplasm next. I have to survive now. I'm going to get focused very hard with my team. My team actually got 3 turret plates in tier 3. I can teleport to this dragon on spawn if I need to. I think for now I'm okay, though. Okay, Kassadin's coming. I think they're good to escape here, right? Please run, Zillion. Oh, he was looking for Jinx. Oh, shit. That's scary. Okay, Dragon is dead. The next objective is going to be Baron spawning in about 2.5 minutes, right? So at that time, I should think about moving towards bot lane. But the first Baron, the odds of the enemy team taking it immediately at 20 minutes is not that high unless they're very far ahead. And we're the ones who are far ahead, right? So I'm not that worried about the objective right now. If I was more worried, I'd go on the opposite side of the map where Vlad is and make a big fuss about maybe on the opposite side for the teleport shield. But this game, it doesn't really matter too much, right? Let these minions crash into me, farm them up, farm them up. I do have a lot more health now. I don't want to chance the 1v1 again, though. That was pretty bad earlier. I'm looking mid now to see if I have a teleport. Every time you see multiple champions stacked up on your minimap from your team and their team, always pan your camera to look. Because if I have to... Damn, bro. Well, there goes half my HP. I have to recall now. That's fine. But like I was saying, always pan your camera to see if you have a teleport to help someone. I could have TP'd there, but I took half my health from Nasus, and he knows I was looking too because he's a top laner, so he knows what I was doing. He's going to try and stop my recall, or stop my teleport there by hitting me. So the appropriate play there for me was to actually back off into Fog of War and look for teleport, but like it's still fine. Right, we are still okay. This Kassadin's getting a lot of shutdowns though, a little bit scary, a little bit scary. You do have to watch out for that. Alright, Nasa's going to slowly push into me. I don't think it's going to matter too much, however. Look for a little fling on him here for some damage. Then my poison will actually kill this cannon and this wave, so I'm happy with that. The next objective that we're going to fight over is probably Dragon, so I'm going to be on the opposite side of the map as Dragon. There could be a 20-minute Baron, but I just doubt it, so I'm going to stay over here. Defend my tier 2. Or tier 1, sorry. And slowly farm up to my Protoplasm Harness. I'm going to pan my camera, look for this Xin, who's over here fighting. My team is fine, but I'm going to walk over there just in case I have to move. My team wants to actually do this level at 20-minute Baron. I'm cool with that. That's fine. We're very strong. So knowing when to play very aggressively is very important as well. If you have the opportunity to take a 20-minute Baron like this, go for it. If you are ahead, right? If you're not ahead, it's a throw. I think we're good. I'm going to ward over the wall to see if someone's going to flash and try to steal it. I think we're fine. Otherwise, I would go for the W to try and stop them. I eat an arrow across the map. The first Baron now is only 100 gold to each champion. It used to be 300, and so the first Baron is a lot less snowball than it used to be. A lot of the time, the team that takes first Baron doesn't even get that big of a lead off anymore because it's only 500 gold instead of what used to be 1,500 gold, right? But I do have Protoplasm money now. Go back and buy it. I think Kassadin's fighting Vlad's. I'm gonna teleport bottom. He's not fighting him. I should have stayed mid there. That's fine.
It's nearly time.
Well, let's look at the map now. What's happening? Jinx and Zillion are moving to push mid with Shyvana. I'm going to run over here now. There's a fight happening. I'm going to move immediately. Look for the Ashe. Kite away. I survive. Holy, I'll go back in for the fling. And goodbye. See you later. Then we can just look to push mid as a giant group. Only lose one person there.
Your team has destroyed a turret.
Take both inhibitors as well.
Your team has
Why not? Wave's not crashed yet. We probably can't end the game yet, and Caston's spawning, so we should leave now. But I can try and signal my team to go for Dragon. I think it's going to be Jack Show next. I'll go for Negatron Cloak first. I need to get tanky. Excuse me, against the Caston. My team's just fighting in mid, though. I guess we're not going for Dragon here. I'm not sure. I might need to ping these guys back. I would like to get it if possible. I don't want to throw and get the Caston a pentakill here. Well, I guess we're fighting. I'm not going to fling Nasus. He's too dangerous. I'm going to go for the Xin. Fling him off my Jinx. Goodbye and good night, enemy team. All right, guys. All right. That being said, interesting game. I'm still over 10 CS per minute, by the way, which is kind of crazy for this short of a game. But overall, not too bad. Good game, good game. That has been my Singed guide. I hope this video has helped you learn something. A like and a comment and a subscription go a very long way to helping out the channel. And if you guys want coaching from me as well, again, the link is medify.gg/@minishcap1, and you can get coaching there. And again, my spreadsheet link is in the description. Also, download Opera GX with my link. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.